What's going on, guys? We're back at it again with another episode of Combos with Dr. Andy. Today, we're going to be talking about practitioner dependence. Now, we're going to go into three places: chiropractic, CrossFit, and like nutrition, lifestyle coaching, and kind of dive into to how this manifests in day-to-day life. But what we want you to know overall is that we're talking about all health and wellness practitioners. So your physical therapist, your trainer, your nutritionist, your dietitian, your chiropractor, your MD, your specialists that you've been referred to. There's an over dependence, and we're going to kind of unpack why. First and foremost, before we go into the pockets of how we see this come out, can you define practitioner dependence?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's an actual Webster's dictionary definition of it, but I would say just, someone who obviously depends on someone else, in this case, a healthcare professional, to use them almost as a crutch to help them either return to health or get quote unquote unsick. So just relying on somebody else to promote your health or bring you back to health.
Okay. And the reason why we jumped down on CrossFit because we both have experience there, right? And we're really also talking about trainers in general, really in the gym. Chiropractic, I mean, Dr. Andy's a chiropractor, so I think that makes sense. And then on the nutrition and lifestyle coaching, we want to unpack that because I have a lot of experience over there. So let's kind of dive into the chiropractic side. What do you feel, or where do you see over dependence in the chiropractic world with patients?
For me personally, James, I see it a lot in the sense of, first and foremost, when patients come in, they expect us to, I don't say spend an exorbitant amount of time with them, right? Mm-hmm. But I specialize in adjusting joints, specifically the spine. So coming to me for, say, a massage, or coming to me to work on, say, trigger point, or to discuss specific nutritional inputs that they can do, or implements that they can do. Albeit, yes, I do want to help, and I do have some knowledge to that. That's not my specialty. So when people come to, I think just a chiropractor in general, usually it's at a last resort. They've gone to a medical doctor, they've gone to physical therapy, they've gone and gotten massages, they've tried a nutritionist, they tried going to the gym, all these other modalities, and they're usually coming to the chiropractor as like a last resort. So what ends up happening is we kind of, I think, become this catch-all. Like, well, nobody else can help me with this. Can you help me with this? So, and then it becomes a burden on the chiropractor, where we do believe that we can help out in a lot of facets of health, because we primarily deal with healing the nervous system, which the nervous system controls every tissue in the body, whether it be digestive, endocrine, musculoskeletal, you name it. But chiropractic-wise, I think people just want to kind of like, I'm not quite sure how to put it, but they just want to show up, get everything taken care of, put their mind out of it, go back to whatever they were doing before they came in. Out of sight, out of mind. So they have a little pain, they go to the chiropractor, they expect everything to go away, and then go back to the life that they once had, or the lifestyle that they had, which initially brought them in the first place. So me personally, I see a lot of patients that just come in, they want to get stretched, and they want to just ask you questions about everything, sleep, nutrition, headaches, which are all great, valid questions. I want them to ask that. But I also, before we hopped on here, James, we kind of talked a little bit about empowerment of health, right? Whereas, what people can do for themselves. I mean, not everyone's going to be driving the nicest car, right? Not everyone's going to even have a car, but everyone gets a body. They wake up with it, they go to sleep with it, they're in it 365, 24/7. So I think there needs to be a little bit more empowerment for people to pick up a book, right? Doesn't need to be a textbook, doesn't need to be Guyton's medical textbook, but just a book on health, something, right? The importance of sleep, the importance of nutrition, right? Whether it's something you truly believe in or not, pick something up that can potentially allow you to pick up tools to do yourself at home that are going to be free. And I know we're going to talk about some of this stuff, further on, but basically that's what I see. I just see people kind of coming in using chiropractors as like all for everything that they've tried before, and are now relying on resort.
Okay. It kind of cut out there at the end. You said relying on y'all as a last resort to everything.
Yeah, as a catch-all.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
not every case, but I see that a lot.
But a lot of times people are coming in there and they've got, maybe they've got pain in the low back. They've got, hey, their shoulders aren't strong, posture's all shit, their adiposity is too high, and they're like, hey doc, you can just like fix all this, right? Because like my nutritionist didn't work, my trainer didn't work,
Yeah.
the MD didn't work, my knee hurts like shit, the PT didn't help.
Yeah, I mean, you can't adjust a bad lifestyle, right? So the things that you're not doing outside of our office, right? If you're going home and snacking on refined processed sugars, right? Or just a lot of artificial additives, you name it, you can come in and get adjusted, right? And we can help so much, but ultimately you're going to fall back on your ass and be in pain again.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going home and sitting, not moving, you come in to get adjusted, we get you moving a little bit better, right? You're going to feel good, and you go back home, and within a few probably short hours, you're going to feel the exact same again. So, that's why one adjustment, is great, albeit one adjustment is not enough. Yeah, a lot of times lifestyles outside of the office take precedent over the adjustment inside the office.
Yeah, that's really funny that you say that. I think that that's absolutely true. And I think also that it's super funny that we're in a world where people think that, coming to you, even the adjustment itself is going to just be a fix all. It's going to be the savior. It's going to get someone into heaven. Like,
dude, I wish it was.
It's not, though. It's not at all. And so, I see some similarities there to what I see, I think, in the CrossFit world. And also, you could encompass more people than just the CrossFit world. That could also be, your physical fitness trainers, your athletic trainers, what have you. I think that the most apparent idea, or the most apparent space that this happens on the CrossFit side, at least from my experience, is like people want to come to a 60-minute class and they want to be lifting like Matt Frazier. They want to have gymnastics like Alex Smith. They want to be able to have endurance like Tia-Claire Toomey. They think that 60 minutes is going to get them all the mobility, all the strength, and all the conditioning that they need to be a superstar athlete that legitimately works out 4 to 7 hours a day. Like, it's very interesting to me to see that happen. And I think that a lot of times people, blow their own foot off even more because they don't do any kind of mobilizing outside. They don't do any kind of stretching. They don't go into in ranges at all with lighter weight or work on their mobility in the slightest. So it's actually even more detrimental sometimes for people to come to CrossFit and try to snatch, try to clean and jerk, try to do bar muscle ups when the last time that they stretch out their pecs or their shoulders was a month ago. I mean, what do you think? That's where I see it most from my experience, but you've got more experience coaching CrossFit. I mean, what do you think there?
As far as like dependence on, maybe a coach, I think there's, from what I've seen, because you covered a lot of good stuff there, and I agree with all that. The biggest thing was that they just want a certain cue, or they want a certain tactile drill that will get them, a higher level skill movement or to lift heavier, right? Where it's like, okay, they just want the coach to tell them one little trick, hey, brace harder, right? Or position your feet like this, and they magically expect them to lift an exorbitant amount more weight, right? Or someone who's never done a strict pull-up before on the bar, all of a sudden wants to get butterfly pull-ups. But they want the coach to be able to somehow manifest their body, the ability to have the strength and tissue tensile capacity to handle that movement. So, and that's the biggest, I shouldn't say the biggest, but that's a frustration that I had was, you just have to be straightforward with the athlete and say, you're just not there. You're just not there. And going back on the chiropractic thing, some people just want, hey, why isn't this getting fixed in one adjustment? It's like, you're 71 years old. You've never taken care of your spine before. One push on your spine, one adjustment is not going to bring back 71 years of abuse, right? So for the CrossFit athlete, yeah, I see a lot where, athletes, like you said, they see the Matt Fraziers, they see the Tia-Claire Toomeys, they see the Scott Panchaks, the Rich Froning that are just doing all this capacity, right? Seemingly out of nowhere. yet they don't see the behind the scenes work. Even the stuff on social media, right? Or some of these, YouTube videos documenting, behind the scenes kind of stuff. It doesn't show everything. I mean, if Matt Frazier, the snippet of information that I know about Matt Frazier is that, he used to, I think it was on a video years ago, but he used to do like 50 cal sprints on the bike, right? And if he didn't hit a certain metric that he wanted, he'd repeat that, right?
Until he
hit it, right? And then he would repeat it. So I don't think a lot of people have that I guess awareness that, or even willingness to kind of go to that depth to achieve, where he is, or you can say the same thing for she is for Tia, right? But Matt also talked about he's the kind of person who would read a chapter in the textbook. If he didn't understand every single thing that chapter told him, right, then he'd go back and read the entire chapter again. So even you just take it outside of the framework of like fitness, that's just how he's mentally wired. So for people, if they're really trying to maybe alter their framework, their mindset, check in with yourself on stuff like that, right? Where are you disciplined enough to even just sit down before you go to sleep and just read for 10 minutes every single night?
No matter what.
It's just what's that?
I said no matter what.
Yeah, no matter what, right? So and like it's start with these little tiny habits, and then see where that bleeds over into other facets of your life, including fitness. But yeah, so that's what I see, James. I know we kind of went a little off topic, but I just saw a lot of people that wanted to bite off more than they could chew, and then expecting the coach to just somehow miraculously, cue them to overcome their physical capacities.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I didn't even think about it from the cue perspective, but that does make sense, because even in regular training sessions, I'm like, yo, well, I need you to keep your elbows up on a front squat, right? You got your hands on a bar like you received a clean. I need you to keep your elbows up. You cannot dump your elbows. You'll throw your back out and you'll hit the ground, because you're not going to let go of the bar either. What's interesting is even in training sessions, like, well, I mean, how do I keep my elbows up? Like, with all due respect, you keep your fucking elbows up. What do you mean? Like, there's not a cue that I can give you for you to magically get your elbows up. Like, how tight are your lats? How tight is your chest? How tight are your shoulders? Are you in a position that you can even do that? James, just give me the cue of how I can keep my elbows up. Like, again, with all due respect, just keep your fucking elbows up. I don't know what to tell you. Like, if your lats are not strong enough, or they're not open enough, your shoulders, your pecs are also the same way. Your triceps are the same way. Your forearms, you didn't stretch your wrists. Like, physiologically, you're not going to be able to do it. And if you do, you're going to be in excruciating pain. But I can't get that to change in a session with you today. You have to do work outside. That is, I think, one of the, okay, Coach, I'll just put my arms over and I'll just put my hands over the bar. Well, okay, fucking sweet. But how are you going to catch a clean? How are you going to ever receive a clean? You ain't going to receive a clean with your hands back like that, are you? Hell no, you're not.
Zercher cleans.
Yeah, my God.
Oof.
And so I think that's, I really like that you said a cue, because I wasn't even thinking like that. I was thinking like tactically, what are people complaining about that's not done so quickly? But I think that overall, I mean, your coach can't save you, right? Your coach is here to help you, empower you. But if you don't have an understanding of your body, you won't know the difference between pain and discomfort. And if you don't know the difference between pain and discomfort, you will leave so much on the table that you will not be able to push forward. You will not be able to improve past, because you have a mental block. And I think that is a massive problem. You're like, well, this is just, I'm in pain. Like, no, you're tight. You're not in pain. You're discomfort. You're uncomfortable. Your mind is telling you to stop. And guess what? Doesn't matter how fit you are. That's always going to happen. It's always going to happen.
I think just for the people out there that are listening that do CrossFit, is biggest thing on this is like, I think James Jude mentioned elbows up, right? That's a big one that a lot of people struggle with. My wrist hurts, my shoulders. So a few things that they could easily do is one, start hanging from a bar, just dead hanging from a bar, right? Palms facing forward, let everything sink. Be great for the ability and low back decompression. Stretching out the lats, I think, is huge, because there's so much lat work. When I say lats, like the big muscle of your back that come down off your sides. They're used in pull-ups. Roll those out, stretch those out, right? 2 huge things, James, you're talking about, tell people with. And then 3 hip flexors, well, I guess 4, but hip flexors and calves, right? We see a lot of immobility in people's ankles and calves in CrossFit, and then their hip flexors are super tight, which kind of low back to being a lot of discomfort, I would say, for what James was saying, difference between pain and discomfort. So things that folks can do easily: hang from a bar, roll out and stretch their lats, stretch out their hip flexors, and then mobilize and stretch out their calves as well, for all that stuff that we kind of just went fast over. But
Yeah. And so,
James, you covered a lot of good stuff, man. I just wanted to give people something to do.
for sure.
Right, without
On the chiropractor side, like, let's roll it back one before we talk about nutrition, before we talk about overall coaching. So that's what you can do in CrossFit for those specific, like for all of our Olympic movements, all of our pushing, our pulling, etc. I love that. On the chiropractor side, when someone does come to you and has an overdependence on you fixing everything, being the catch-all, I mean, what's your recommendation for them to take that power back?
it usually depends on what their specific goal or complaint is. If somebody comes in looking to lose weight, right, or my recommendation for them is to lose weight, outside of the superficial answer of like, hey, eat healthier, right, which means different things to different people. It shouldn't, but it does. Is depending on the case, I'd recommend them to someone like yourself who actually deals with people trying to get in shape and lose weight, right? So delegating to another healthcare professional. Somebody who comes in who's just asking, hey, like my low back hurts, right? Depending on what they have going on, what the issue from that is, right? I may recommend just, hey, here's a quick stretch for your hip flexors, right? Same thing. If depending on their area, I recommend hanging from a bar almost to everybody who walks in. Why? It's because of ergonomically, so many people are just sedentary. So outside of really those 2 things, if there's like a red flag referral that I need to refer them to, then I will, such as like an NMD or an internist or something like that. But if it's a basic like, hey, this needs to be stretched, here's my recommendation. This needs to be foam rolled, here's my recommendation. And as far as like a specific, hey, you need to, you're looking to change up lifestyle as far as nutrition goes, I'm going to refer them to somebody like yourself.
Got it. Okay.
I don't have the time, and I don't want to do them an injustice of not giving them a correct answer as far as nutritionally.
Yeah, I think it's also so much like for you to focus and be able to identify these things that you're talking about that they need to improve on. Sometimes you need to stay within scope of what you can do in that session time, right? It's not like
Correct.
You don't know what you're talking about on nutrition, but you want to stay within scope of what you can handle for them while they're in there on that visit, because you don't have another one promised. Like while you're in front of them, what can you do for them that best serves them? Well, that's probably everything in chiro. And then referring out, giving small recommendations on things that will benefit them on the chiro side. But then also like releasing, trying to be, God to them,
Yes.
There's only so much you could do. And then last thing that I want to kind of dive into is I think that there's a dependence, whether it be life coaching, it'd be motivation, it'd be nutritional intervention or lifestyle coaching in general. I think there's a massive dependence and too much of a dependence where people are learning helplessness. And I want to give credit where credit's due. I don't know where Brent Cromer got this from, but my buddy that he posted something the other day, and you and I talked about this on off screen before we started recording. But it's this phenomenon that as we go down, as people progress, there's sometimes a point where they then are asking similar questions over and over and over around frameworks that they already know, because they don't want to work through the framework themselves. They want just the answer. Right. There's probably many times where you could just ask Brian, right? Dr. Brian, he'd be like, hey, what do you think about this? Without you having to think about what you think about it. Just have him give you an answer and then you spit that to somebody else. That's cool. Right. But the more you do that, the less you think for yourself. The more you do that, the more dependent you become on his brain to give you the answers to do whatever. And I think that on the nutrition, the lifestyle coaching, the intervention there, I think that a lot of people get far, far, far too dependent upon me giving them the answer. Hey, James, I know that you said meal construction should look like this. And I know that I've been doing this every day, all day, but like I'm going on vacation. I don't know how to do this. Like all that's on the menu is fried. Like, what do I do? Well, you make a choice. Like you know this. You make a choice. You eat the fried or you don't. That's it. You willingly do you willingly do something that's not going to move you towards your goals, and you take responsibility for that, or you don't. I can't give you an out, you know? And there's so many scenarios like that where I think that people get into a position where they see some results, someone has helped them, and then they almost put this person that's helped them on a pedestal. They almost put this person in place of I don't want to go so far as to say a deity, right? But put them on a box above them and keep rising their level and level and level until they get themselves to a place where then they don't know how to think for themselves. It's not what you need. What you need is to learn from everyone that you come in contact with. And if you have a coach, learn from them to the point where you cannot learn anymore, and then make a decision to continue to implement those frameworks or go find someone else that can teach you more and continue to learn. It's not about stunting yourself to their knowledge or stopping thinking yourself because you think that it's better to just ask them the question. If you know the frameworks, if you know their methodology, why you ask them a question you already know the answer to? How about you think through it yourself and then ask for their thoughts. Hey, this happens a decent bit. Hey, Andy, I've got this client, right? Doesn't happen as much anymore, but I've got this client that's struggling with this. I think that I should do this. What would you do in this scenario? So like I've thought through, here's what I would do and why I would want to do this. But what do you think? You know, and then it's either like, yeah, I can help you with that, or like, nah, you know, just do what you think you need to do. Doesn't sound bad. You know, but me coming to you and being like, Andy, save me. Doc, help me. Anatomically, I don't know how to help this person. Like that doesn't help me in the long run. In a pinch, in an emergency, it definitely is beneficial. But if you become dependent on it, as we all can, I think it's definitely detrimental. Thoughts?
Yeah, I agree, man. You know, it kind of all simplifies into the gosh, I couldn't remember if it was an analogy or a metaphor before, but you know, feed a man a fish, give a man a fish, right? Eats for a day, right? Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime kind of thing. So, you know, like you said, asking, you know, for guidance, right, can be a really crucial learning experience. But when you constantly just go back to the same hand that feeds you, right, over and over again, you never learn what happens when that hand's not there. Mm-hmm. So 100%, man. Yeah, it's the more that we can empower people to take back actionable steps in their life for their own health, the better we're all going to be, regardless of, you know, monetary value, right? I think the world will be a better place if people just learn to be a little bit more but just like health conscious for their own right, for their own bodies.
Yeah.
Big time.
And that's where we're going to end that episode there. Yeah, I think that the fact of the matter is that it's not bad to learn, and you should learn. I got a bookcase to the right of me that has 400 plus books on it. I think you should learn about all the things that you want to learn about. But I think also that you shouldn't be dependent on Poliquin to give you the answers for everything when his ass ain't here. You know what I mean? Like there's only so far that goes, you know, rest in power, my bro. But there's only so far that I can go. Learn from them, apply, make it your own, and keep moving. Like that's all we're here to do, right? Just because and I think Hormozy, the last thing that I'll leave us with, Hormozy has talked about this many times. It's like, you're not mad at your first grade teacher for only teaching you basic arithmetic, right? When you learn algebra in college, right? Or you learn algebra in high school. You're not going to throw away the kindergarten teacher, are you? Or the first grade teacher? Why would you do that? They brought you to a level where then you could ascend. They brought you to a level where then you could ascend again, and you continue to move like that, right? So it doesn't mean that they're bad or worse, and doesn't mean that they don't know algebra better than you do. But it just means that at the time you didn't need to be learning it. You weren't ready.
Good shit, man.
All right, we'll cut that one there, and yeah, we'll see y'all next time.